This week's episode of Queer addresses a topic that is very dear to our heart. I mean, after all, we are nearing the end of our very first season, so why the fuck not? The topic this week is queer spaces. The significance that queer spaces have to the LGBTQ+ community, their impact on LGBTQ+ youth, as well as how these spaces shaped us as individuals. You will find out what made me say this. Right. I think what these companies that are buying out these businesses or these buildings, what they should be obligated to do, considering that the Village is a historical thing of Canada or Toronto, as it is with most cities that have a gay village.
Yeah, like Boys Town and all those places.
I think what they should be obligated to do is that for every building or fucking story of a building that you're going to build, you need to do one positive thing for the queer community that is tangible.
Oh my God, Jamal for mayor. Mayor.
We hope you enjoy, and please stay safe.
Hello. Welcome back to Queer. This week we have some really fun shit to talk about. This one that we're talking about is queer spaces.
Trading spaces.
Or the loss of those spaces that we can't trade anymore.
Can you find your walls?
Can you what?
Nothing.
Find your walls.
Find your walls. You know what walls are? Your
Like
anal
walls?
walls?
Oh, your anal walls.
or
your
vaginal
prostate.
walls.
Anyway,
Oh my God.
this week I got to bring my best friend and community human, Kabir.
Hi, I'm the community whore.
Yeah.
Some would call me.
Right, yes, sorry, that's what I meant to say. Community
Thank
whore.
you. Thank you. Yes.
Kabir, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi. Yeah, my name, as you've heard, is Kabir. I'm a Sagittarius. I don't believe in star signs though, so I don't really care or know what that means. I work in the restaurant industry, so I'm currently out of work and was really bored and asked Jay to bring me. So thank you so much, Jay.
We're so happy to have you for no particular reason.
Thank you so much.
So I'm Jay Northcott, also known as Nervous Shipwreck.
And it's J-Ho, also known as Decent People.
Alexander Jamal, no AKA this week, because
Because you saw that it got old when you always pretend to be Nicki Minaj.
yeah, life's a bitch.
Are you a barb?
No.
Oh, okay, great.
But he always, for some reason, always says that he's Nicki Minaj on this.
I think
on this
he's a
podcast.
secret barb.
Because in that moment,
Yeah.
I don't have anything to say, and I'm just thinking, and the first thing that comes into my mind is Nicki Minaj.
like that.
Yeah.
She just
The
gets
Dungeon
in
Dragon.
there. Yeah. So we thought this week for an icebreaker, we could talk about our favorite queer space that we've ever been to. It can be in Toronto. It can be anywhere in the world. Somewhere that really just like turned your fucking muffin. Turned your muffin? You don't flip
What?
I know you don't flip a muffin. I don't know why
Yeah.
I said
Mm-mm.
flip your pancake.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good one.
yeah, better. Who wants to start us off?
Okay, everyone's looking at me.
Yeah.
I'll start it off. Great question. So here's me stalling to think about that club in Montreal called Sky Bar. I love Sky.
Yeah, with the
that's a good
pool.
one.
With the like hot tub
Tub.
at the top, and then you go during the day. I go every year during Pride, except this year for obvious reasons.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Sky. And it's amazing. Has every space possible. I feel it's accepting. You can see a drag show, then you can go up and have sex in a pool. It's great.
Yeah, and I love the upstairs, and I also think that what's her name?
Kiara.
Kiara. We saw her there.
Yeah.
I think we've seen the other bitch from Drag Race.
Rita Bega.
Yeah. I should be way better with names.
You should.
Do you just like not have a name archive in your head?
I just think I smoked way too much weed when I was younger, and I just think my memory is gone. I would say my favorite space for nostalgia reasons is there was this place called Buddies, and it was on the Edmonton Trail in Edmonton, Alberta.
Oh my God, I was gonna say as soon as you said it was, and then I was like, oh my God, ew, Edmonton.
Yeah, it was disgusting, but it was the very first gay bar I ever went to. It was that one and this other place called Flash, and Flash was just like a flat dance floor, and that's all it was, and like 2 bars, and it had no character. There was nothing about it. And Buddies had like all of these cages around, and then my friends started working there, but it was like dirty and underground. Like it was the very first time I like found my queer community real quick. So that's the reason I liked it.
And there's no affiliation to Buddies
No.
or Flash here.
No,
Great.
no.
We're so original. The queer community is
Yeah.
original. You've heard it here first.
But Flash, I met my first boyfriend in who is high on ketamine. I always talk about him. He's always high on ketamine in
What's
the
his
stories
name?
that I tell.
Shout him out.
No.
Full name, address,
Absolutely.
number.
Imagine. He calls in. He's like, hey.
Yeah, and he didn't remember, but we still start dating after that.
He didn't remember that you guys were dating? Or
Yeah.
he didn't
Wait,
remember that night?
did I meet him in Calgary?
No. I don't think so.
Mm,
No,
mm.
he's ginger. You never met him.
No, I don't know any
No.
gingers.
We don't have gingers.
No, not in Toronto.
Jeho?
So my favorite club is actually in Colombia, Bogota. Yeah, so they have this club there called Teatron, and it's literally like the it spot to go. Like everybody goes there whenever they go, and it's like this massive ass, like it almost looks like an industrial building, and it has so many different floors, and it's almost kind of like in Montreal, but like on steroids. So like there is literally a place for each and every kind of person that wants to go to a club, and they just have hot people dancing, hot people being naked. You can get a little fun stuff if you want.
Is it one of those places that you pay like $35 to get into and you get to drink free all night?
No.
Damn.
Do they have like circus performers and stuff? I feel like a lot of South American bars have like really huge, like 10,000 people capacity. Go to 7 a.m. They have like
they do
flamethrowers.
that.
It does go.
This is
late.
That's just what I think all of South America is.
They do that because of the tourists, right? Yeah,
That's why I think that. Okay.
That's too funny.
What about you, Jamal?
What was the question?
What is your favorite queer space that you've ever been to, or a space that's nostalgia, or a place that you like, or that's in Toronto?
Since you guys said clubs, my favorite place was this place called, it's still there, I think, The Woodward in Detroit. It is literally the most dingiest club you'll ever find in your life. It's almost as if they turned an alleyway into a club, but it's popping, right? It's like majority of it's inside, but it's very small regardless. Why do I keep doing that?
Always.
Every single time we record a podcast.
Every time I've been here, that's happened.
Thank you. So just once. Whatchamacallit. So yeah, so it's like it feels as though it's like an alleyway turned into a club. Really nice though, but it literally is faced like it's shaped like an alley. There's not much more space than a traditional alleyway, and then all of a sudden there's this dance floor. But then you have like a patio which is huge, and everyone just kind of frolics to the patio or frocks to the patio. But the reason why I love it is because it's dirt cheap. Most of the time it's free to get in. They have what they're known for is their Long Island iced teas, which I kid you not is like 99.9% liquor in a tall fat ass glass
Just like a
with like
lemon.
a splash of Coke.
That makes my dreams come true.
Like it's not like you know Coke's color, right?
Yeah.
It's still fucking clear when you get it.
Hot.
Right. So anyway, so like most of the time you go there and like you have one and you're fucked, right? But if you're really trying to push the limits, go for two.
I love it. We used to drink Everclear in high school.
What the
We would
fuck is that?
Everclear. It's like
it's
it's like 90 proof. It's not, some of it sometimes it's not even cheap. It's just like it's like vodka on steroids. It's like if you take one shot of it, it's like taking like 2 shots.
Sounds like
2 or 3
hand
shots.
sanitizer.
It is. It's like because I think alcohol is like, or not alcohol, vodka is like 38 proof or something, and this is like 95 proof. So
Proof? What does that mean? Like
I
that's
have
how
no
much the
idea.
percentage is? Or?
It's something about science.
I feel like 95 is illegal.
Yeah, it is. You can't
okay.
you can't get Everclear from liquor stores.
You can get 80 here though.
Yeah.
And
Like, I
that's
know-
absinthe? Question mark? Is that what absinthe is? It like
I don't
80?
know.
Maybe. Yes. Absinthe does have a very high proof.
Isn't it
Anyway,
like,
I
I
don't
think the
know.
moral of the story is like none of us are scientists.
Yeah.
we try though.
So this week I wanted to talk about queer spaces, and I think we all got really excited about this topic. I want to talk about how queer spaces were created, why we have them in the 80s and 90s, and now in 2000s, how much they've continued to grow our history and develop who we are as people, I think in a weird way. And then also now seeing the loss of queer spaces, and do we still need them is my questions that I kind of have. I think that with like with queer spaces now, for me, when I was growing up, like I saw my first drag shows there. You know, I saw my first drag queen there, I think.
Mhm.
And like I met people that were like making out with boys, and numerous boys, and I was one of those boys. And I don't think that happens anymore. I don't think that's the first interaction you have with queerness when you're younger, right? Because we have so much access to it on the internet. Would you guys agree?
Yes, I would. Well, I grew up in the suburbs. I grew up in a nice little ghetto called Scarborough, which is just outside of the main city of Toronto. And I went to an art school, luckily, so everyone was queer in some way. I came out when I was 15, and it was a really positive experience for me. But now I've recently been back home, and you see people who are visibly gay walking down the street, which was never the case.
Like,
yeah, they're literally nipple tasseling like Ben de la Creme, like living their best life. So it's really interesting to see how that's changed, because I would always have to escape that area to kind of and come to the city to kind of feel like accepted in the broader community.
Right, because it's like now like queer spaces have kind of just become a place to like party and like have a good time and maybe do a bunch of drugs and get really drunk and then call your like all these Snapchats. So you're like, party of my life, having the best day ever. But like these spaces used to be places for revolutions, for community, for like safe space, right? And I wonder where that part of queer spaces has went.
See, I think they still are a place for like self-discovery and just personal evolution. For example, I know when I was growing up, knowing a drag queen was like slim to none, right? Like I was fortunate enough to have a gay mother who was a drag queen. But for the most part, that was the only drag queen I knew. And I would see some in passing or get to know some as time went on. But yeah, you can pay homage to like Drag Race and all these kind of things, saying that this is the reason why so many drag queens or young kids want to become drag queens. But at the end of the day, they have no real avenue or real outlet other than locally, right? So I think they still do serve a purpose. A lot of these young kids are still being given the platform that they want just to go out, express themselves, things like that. There was one thing that you said before that I just had to make a comment on. You said, do we still need these queer spaces?
Mm-hmm.
My immediate answer to that is, until we are truly able to walk into a space and feel 100% comfortable being ourselves, then we do need these spaces. And I say that because me, as someone who is on the more masculine side, I personally will never step foot in a straight club.
Right.
I haven't yet, and I will never.
You've never been in a straight club?
Never been to a straight club.
Oh my god,
it's horrible.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not. It's not horrible, but it's not desirable either.
Did you ever go to Cowboys in Calgary?
Yeah,
Oh my god, it's so much fun. And then you get to line dance when you're wasted.
The only thing I hate about straight bars is that like we are not it. At a straight bar. So like
some girls do think we're it though.
No, okay, but the thing is, so if a girl comes to a gay club, you know the gays are gonna welcome her and like almost celebrate her. When we go to a straight club, like, you know, everybody's like,
you don't like fit in. Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing here?
You have to go with the hot straight girl. Like you have to go with them in. That's been my experience. Like I've been to a lot of straight clubs and I would always go with these like super hot. Like I would get in front of the line because all of them would be like, if you don't let him in with us, then we're not going in. Here. So then I would get in and stuff, and you have to go with them or else you're not going to get like the free shots and stuff.
Well, okay, where are these girls? Where they at?
Hi, if there's any
They're
girls
all in real
listening to
estate.
this podcast right now, go to Decent People's Instagram and we would love to go to the club with you. On the like going into clubs, all these kind of things, do you think that young people, I know now we're sounding like old fucking geezers. I'm like 27. I'm like, do young people kind of forget why we've had villages and what they were created for? And like why we have queer spaces? Do you think that they kind of take it for granted now that we have like the internet to be able to have such easy accessibility to queerness and to that kind of space?
Because didn't like to have like a gay village, didn't it really start off as like a safe haven for gays to really just walk down the street without, I don't know, getting beat the fuck up? And then now that you can just be like whoever and like whatever you want, like it, I don't know, like I don't think it defeats the purpose of a village, but I still think we need it.
I somewhat agree. I think that we're also speaking from a place of privilege, being in a city where it's so like populated and we have so much queer culture in this city. I personally think that people who are younger now actually are more aware of the necessity to have spaces like that. I feel like they're so woke, people that are younger than me, and I feel like they're like, we need to like take care of our brothers, sisters, and queer family.
But do you think that they're woke because obviously like everybody has access to the internet, but it's because older people have that voice on the internet. So of course, in that way, the young people are like hearing our voice and then being like, oh, like let me, be woke.
Oh yeah, for sure. We're to thank for everything good that's happened on the planet, in my personal opinion. But I think that they're really carrying the torch very well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys know who Sky Gilbert is? Sky Gilbert used to run Buddies in Bad Times. There's a theater company here. and he has like the alleyway. I don't know if I had ever want an alleyway named after me, but there's a street named after him behind Buddies and Bad Times, which is like a bar, a theater, blah blah blah. But last year he got like super canceled for saying that like there's certain things about like that are getting taken away from queer spaces, it being like so inclusive now for like straight people, for like women to kind of take over the space sometimes, and like for there not to be like a kind of like the inherent sexuality sometimes that goes on in gay spaces that make gay men feel safe. And that like he's not saying that like those spaces shouldn't that they were like getting erased, and that they were just becoming inclusive for everyone. So is it gay anymore if it's like now like mainstream?
I remember this.
Yeah, because it's like, because we look at it a lot of the time of like, sometimes when we look at any kind of thing becoming mainstream, and we've talked about this before, like gays, like being gay now is kind of mainstream, so people feel safe taking over space in gay spaces when they're not gay. So then all of a sudden these queer spaces stop becoming inherently queer.
Right, but then what are you supposed to do? Like, you can't deny somebody to,
because that's against what we should do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially people that like have been denied for X amount of years. Like, you can't tell somebody that they can't come in the space just because it's gay.
But then like Black Eagle, we were talking about this earlier, like you can't go in as a woman to Black Eagle, right?
Okay, but
like
I think
you have
that's
to have
different.
a membership.
That's different because we all know what Black Eagle's really for.
Right, but then it's not inclusive.
See, and that's a hard thing, because with straight clubs, whenever we go, we're paying a little bit extra to get in a lot of the time because we're male presenting. Jay actually just told me a story about how Jay's non-conforming, but going to a place in Calgary. I don't know if you want to.
It was a strip club. I went to a strip club and me and my friends used to go all the time.
Which one?
It's called Rouge.
Oh God. Yeah.
And we used to go a bunch. And there was 4 of us that would go. 3 of them were women, and then one of them was me. And we would split the $20 that it cost for me to go in, even though I was like, I'm non-binary. And they're like, doesn't matter. You look like a man. You have to pay. And I think I understand why. Like, they need to make money. But then I was like, these girls I spend more money probably here than they do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But then they're like, we can't like ignore the fact that like then some men are just going to come and be like, I'm non-binary. I don't have to pay to go see these girls take off their clothes.
That's true. But that's when it gets tricky, right?
Yeah.
Because again, it is a business. So of course they want like to entice women to come, and then of course the men are going to come to like see these women,
right?
And they will pay.
That's why straight clubs do it,
right?
And that's why most of the time they do it like girls get in free before like 11, blah blah, because it's not their goal to make women pay, because at the end of the day, guys are going to see these girls and they're going to be buying them drinks, so
they want to go to the bar with the hottest girls,
right? So now where I'm conflicted is I'm like, are we opening up our doors to be more inclusive of our community or our supporters, or are we opening up our doors solely to make money?
Right.
That's why I was silent for a while, because I'm like,
because you find that with Cruise and Tangos, right? Like that, because it's like they do, what do they call it? Marathon drag, right? So like, because when women go into there, like any kind of queer space that has marathon drag, there's always a drag queen performing.
Okay.
And like, women love, like after RuPaul's Drag Race, like all these white women are bringing their bachelorette parties, like, yes, drag queen. And if there's not a drag queen for 20 minutes, they're going to go to the next bar until they see another drag queen. So it's like, does Cruise and Tangos just actually appeal to white women?
I mean, now probably that Drag Race has had such an impact on pretty much everybody. I wouldn't say that like 10 years ago.
Right.
Right.
I also think that a part of it is that we as a community don't do enough to demand respect from ourselves when it comes to things like the village. So typically the village is like a small strip within your city. It's never much more than a few miles long. But what's stopping us as queer people to simply boycott this place? At the end of the day, it was, so Cruise and Tangos, if anyone that knows, is actually an historical building. So why are we allowing the owners of Cruise and Tangos to continue standing when at the end of the day, we are their bread and butter? Because once this hype of Drag Race dies, who do you think is still going to flock to your club? It's us, right? But for some reason, we don't demand the respect and demand just the appreciation of our community and the respect from the people that are in charge of our community, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, and I would agree with you, but I don't know if boycotting them is, for me, I'm like, it's like over the past 50 years, we've we've had gay bars as safe havens in these spaces to make sure that I can have this community that we've built. Like, you know, I met Kabir at a gay bar, but I met you on Grindr, and I feel like some people are meeting, like, you know, and like you're meeting people on Grindr constantly now, so you don't need the gay bars to meet. But I still think that community has created an amazing friendship that I have between certain people in my life. So it's like, I'm curious about, like, I want these spaces, like, for me, my end thesis would be that I want these spaces to stay.
Yeah.
I just, like, somehow want them to be inherently more gay and less, like, so mainstream and trying to, like, just be popular in certain ways. How do you create safer spaces like that for queer people without it just, like...
I don't think you can, to be honest with you, solely because it's not that anyone's not creating gay spaces or trying to eliminate gay spaces. It's the sad reality that gay spaces, or at least businesses in gay village, period, oftentimes make a lot less money than your traditional business. So now when Bank of Montreal goes to Cruise and Tangos and says, listen, we're going to offer you $4 million for your space. And the owner of Cruise and Tangos is struggling to keep it afloat. What do you think he's going to do?
Right.
So sometimes it's not even just us. It's the fact that we are struggling and there is a man in power dangling that steak right in front of our face. And he knows exactly what flavor of a steak that we like. And our desperation and our desperation to have this money and or have stability.
Well, do we really though think that Cruise was struggling?
Well, I'm not really talking about Cruise. I was giving an example based off of Club 150, I think it's called 120.
Jay and I are like, oh yeah, 120. Yeah. We've been there. Yeah.
Well, Club 120 went under because they couldn't afford their rent. And what happened? A big business came in and bought them out. Right. So,
but Club 120 also didn't own that building, right? So there's also that difference too. The people who and that's the same thing that I think is happening with Cruise and Tangos. Is what happens even if those people want to keep that space open. If somebody's going to offer them $3 million to say, like, don't take, or even $1 million to not take your lease next time because they can't legally kick them out for doing nothing wrong, even if their lease is done. But they want to sell that property for $15 million so that somebody can build a 58-floor condo and make however much money that is.
Why isn't our community causing an uproar?
There was a huge thing with that with Cruise and Tangos. There was a petition signed by, I forget how many, but probably somewhere like around 20 to 30,000 people. They've they had to do all these like sit-ins with the condo developer that's going there, and the only thing that really happened out of it was that they're keeping the facade. And like you said, it's a historical building, but it's not. They're saying it's going to be a community space, but it's not going to be a club in the middle of a residential building. And a condo going up, literally, Cruise is situated right in the center.
Can you give me a little more explanation on this community space?
That's literally the amount of information we have.
It's going to be a community. It's just, they're going to keep the purple building with all the pretty outside painting on it. And then they're just going to build a condo on top of it.
They're trying to placate us by saying it'll be a queer community space, by like making us think, oh, it'll be like a club and like a fun place. It'll be like a store that sells like a dildo or something.
I'm torn.
Just one dildo.
Just one single dildo, and then it has like a Craig's cookies in it, and then we're good.
Oh my God. I'm torn. If it ends up being something like progressive, like a community drop-in center or something like that, something like 519 but better, I'm all for it.
But like at the bottom of a condo building,
who the fuck cares where it is?
I don't think it'll happen.
No, trust me when I say that we as queer individuals need a lot more drop-in centers.
Of course, we need them.
So
will it happen at the bottom of a condo building?
A condo will never do that. No,
you never know.
They won't. Like, nobody would buy. Like, I have my upstairs neighbors. They're two gay men. They're two white gay men. Very lovely people. But like, you know how there's all the tent villages that are going up everywhere in all these parks? The park right by my house is a bunch of tent villages, and all one of them talks about all the time is like, it just seems so dangerous. Like, I don't even know what to do. Like a drop-in center underneath somebody who's even more bougie and dicky than him. I couldn't even imagine what they would be like. They'd be like, oh, people that make under $30,000 underneath me having fun playing pool. Oh,
but realistically, that's not even the problem. I think like looking at where Cruise is situated, building a condo building there is a problem. This condo condo developer has all the money to bulldoze us all over.
Right.
And so
Mhm.
putting something residential right in the center where we're all partying, people are at 2 a.m. People are running in the middle of the streets, acting a fool, and they're gonna.
I didn't think about that. So that's step one. Step two would be all the residents phasing every single one of those buildings
Right.
off the street.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Okay.
Right? Because you look at gentrification that way.
Hmm.
Gentrification starts, it's like mostly people of color, and they're all there hanging out because they can afford it there. Then artists, usually white people, usually gay people, move into that space because they're like artists, like we want to open a cute boutique. So then they do that, and then all these young families say, "Oh, look, there's these beautiful boutiques and Craig's Cookies there." So like, why?
And the Craig's Cookies.
So why don't I move in there? So then you start having these multi-families, these multi-generational families going there, and then all of a sudden it seems like a safer space, so people want to retire there. So then all these other white people move into the space. That's how gentrification happens, right? And that space looks like a real good place to gentrify. It's close to everything. You can like create that space there because there's all the buildings are really, really small, so demolition is really easy. Like there's so many things that make the village such an easy place to just demolish. And everybody, even like your building, everybody, especially the one across the street from yours, it's so ugly that everybody wants it to go down.
Oh, my whole
Right?
neighborhood. I'm like, I dream of it all being bulldozed one day, but I live there. So I'm
Right.
like, shit, I should.
Right. And then it gets gentrified and then you're fucked.
Yeah. And then I can't afford it.
And then you
so...
can't afford it. Yeah. So it sucks. I think like the loss of queer spaces is also like the loss of like lower income spaces for a lot of people, right? So I don't know what the next step is.
And well, to bring it back to Club 120, they were one of the I think only spaces that had trans parties. They had
Right.
T-girl parties every week. And now that's closed. And I am not educated on the subject. I don't know if there's any other trans parties that are happening, but that's really important.
Yeah.
You know, that's a super important thing to have in our city. These mainstream clubs like Cruise and Woody's that we have are not doing anything like that.
Right. And when do you like did either of you guys frequent any like leather bars or fetish bars or anything like that?
I used to work at Fly.
You used to work at Fly. What would you call Fly? Fly is like was it like a top 40-ish bar, or did it, I guess it has
Definitely
a
a
sex,
top 40
yeah,
bar.
but it has
Circuit.
sex rooms. Like were there a lot of women that ever went in there?
Yes.
Oh, there used to be, and I think then they changed it to like Fly 2.0 and added the sex rooms, and it seemed a little less, but there was definitely women.
Yeah. They actually used to also have a straight night.
Oh, really?
Not a straight night, but it was like this.
Every night is straight night.
Yeah.
I see that as like, okay, so I see the sex rooms as kind of a way to almost like push the straight people out.
Yeah.
Same with having a straight night. It's almost like a way to like you said, like keep the space gay,
Yeah.
because obviously you can't tell them not to come. But in my way, I'm just like thinking about like the person that came up with these things. They're probably like, oh, like let's try and like keep these people, for example, in a straight night, like confined to this one night. So
Right.
then the rest of the week can be gay. But did it work?
Did
It
it
was
work?
pretty gay. Yeah, you tell me.
I don't understand. I'm sorry. I'm confused.
Did it work like that? Did less straight people come on gay nights because of straight nights? at
Your
Fly?
original question was like,
No,
did a lot
because-
of women frequent?
How it came across was that somebody with a lot of money and a lot of power decided that they wanted to throw this weekly party, and that's solely what it became. Pardon me if I'm being derogatory, but it was an Indian party, and at no point did they say it was a straight night, but it definitely was not open to queer people. So oftentimes I think it was like a Wednesday or something like that, but a lot of times gays or queers or trans were all getting beat up at these parties because the company that it brought was not expecting this kind of audience, if that
But
makes
at
sense.
a gay bar?
Yeah, but it wasn't a gay thing. It was advertised as, I think it was called Bangura or something,
Right.
but it was like a weekly thing.
Bungra?
Bangra.
I'm half Indian, half Iranian for the listeners at home. I can answer all your Indian
But
related
No,
questions.
you were there.
I was the person who bought it out.
Oh, dead.
For the straights?
For
they
the
needed
straights,
a
because
space.
the straights TM are not okay and they need some help.
Uh,
They need a space.
So as we've seen though, like we've seen like Fly close now. We've seen
Flies closed?
Fly's demolished.
I thought I was gonna ask you if you know.
Flies demolished?
Yeah, they
Yes.
sold it to a condo.
Yeah.
Did you not know?
Bitch, I don't.
I think the
frequent-
last time I went to Fly was my birthday, not this year that passed, but last year.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the last times.
But like it's gone?
Gone.
Yes, they like broke it down,
Yeah.
bulldozed.
it's dead.
They came in with a wrecking ball. if
Rip
you will.
girl.
I came in like a wrecking ball.
I wonder how much money they got for that, because that was the biggest club that we have.
That was
I
a
know.
jam. And I
Yeah.
was, okay, believe this or not, that was the only time that I went there for my birthday.
That's
and I loved it. And then obviously I don't know
You
like,
definitely
what was
seem
happening.
like a fly girl.
Oh,
Yeah, you
I
do,
mean,
though.
I loved it when I was there,
No,
but I don't go to the club often, so that's why. And then when I did go, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then I think like 6 months down the road, I was like, you know, we should go to that place that we went to like for my birthday. And they're like, that doesn't exist. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, small town Alberta. I felt exactly the same way. I went there for the first time, and I was like, "This is
Lit.
real life." I was
This
like,
is
this
litty
is what I was
titty.
supposed to be doing as a queer person my whole life.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, I'm like hanging out with Kabir, and they're like, "Yeah, we're going for the closing party." And I was like, "The what? No, I just got here. Please don't."
I didn't love Fly, to be honest.
Because it was so white.
It was very white. It was the white circuit club of Toronto, and it was I felt very excluded. And Jay knows my two best friends are hot muscle white daddies.
Yeah.
Not daddies. They're hot muscle white. Kind of daddies.
One's a daddy, one's a power bottom.
One's a power bottom, one's a daddy. And so they're like literally my two best friends. So I'm me, little brown, like, and I used to be like quite a lot bigger. So I'd like strut in with my circle scarf and I would think I was like cute. And then everybody would just like ignore me and they'd be
Right.
shirtless. And then I was like, this is awful because like I'm even by my friends, I'm feeling excluded.
Right.
And it was just like shitty. And then I looked at if you look at the closing, I want everybody to go look this up because I want to call them out. No, don't cancel me. But there was like a picture. It was their closing night party and it was like taken from the balcony. And you look at it and I think I saw there was probably like maybe 200 people in the photo. And I think I counted maybe 4 people of color in the
Right.
whole closing night party picture.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's so sad.
Yeah. And I was like, and everyone's
And
shirtless.
wasn't it invitation only to the closing party?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I could have gone, so I don't think it was.
Oh, okay. I was trying to really shade them,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it didn't fucking work.
And they only invited white people.
But I think with
that's the reality of Fly. To be
But
honest.
and that's the reality of like those of very popular gay bars that are like
Yeah.
really accessible for people, are places that like have inherent white muscle daddies there.
Okay, wait. Before we go on, I
No,
just
go.
want to. I want to ask everybody because to me, so everybody's saying like Fly was this like white circuit, whatever. To me, Fly. Now keep in
it
mind,
was
I'm
the
not-
most ethnic place you've
no,
ever been.
no, of course not. Now, but just keep in mind, I am not a partier anymore. I was a partier back then.
Now you're old.
Yeah. But when I went to Fly, I legit went to like dance my fucking ass off. And I couldn't even tell you who the fuck I saw or who was there because I wasn't paying attention. But when you go to a club, what makes the club like it for you? Because for me, I need a place that I can legit dance. It's not about the people. It's not about whatever. Because if I'm going there, I'm going with a group of my friends. I don't care who the fuck is there.
Right.
So that's what makes a club like it for me. What about you guys?
I like a place that has variety. So I don't like a place that's like I'm stuck in close quarters with only a dance floor and a bar. I need to be able to go to like the patio, the balcony.
Oh, you want options?
The bar. Yeah, because I'm not a dancer. I'm a socializer. So I'll
see
make
that.
my
So
way.
you want to socialize at the patio?
I want
You want to
to
socialize
bitch.
at that
I will
bar?
socialize in the bathroom, in your
Ooh.
manager's office.
I bet you would socialize in the bathroom.
He would.
What else
That's
is the
hot.
bathroom for?
Drugs.
As gays, as soon as you arrive at the destination, you go to the bathroom, check
To do
yourself
drugs.
out, and then you do your round around the club, see who you know while you don't say hello to them because you're just too cool.
Too cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just like look at them.
Yeah, and then you
yeah.
make your way to the patio where they all just kind of miraculously just follow you outside. And it's like, oh my God, I never saw you. And then you do that entire thing all over
We
again.
are such awful people as gay people.
Hey, I
sometimes.
was not agreeing with that. I'm the
Oh.
one who's following, being like, hey, you're my best friend. No, talk to me. And everybody's like, who are you? And I'm like, no. And then it's sad and I cry.
Oh. I feel like no, when you do, but we've done the walk before.
I'm just kidding. I'm like,
Okay, good.
I'm such
good.
a bitch.
Yeah,
I
I was
am.
like, I was like, you're
I'm
so-
like, oh, nice to see you. And I turn, I'm
Okay.
like, did you see that fucking dress?
Then you like just go on your Instagram and like automatically unfollow them.
I go and like block them on Grindr. I'm like, don't talk to me.
That's hate.
You know what? It's fine.
That's
it's
like-
okay. That's me.
Especially with white men, we just like to make them feel like shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, turns me on. That's my kink.
That's
I
my
feel
king too.
halfway attacked.
This
right
is why
now.
Jay and I are friends.
When I go to the game, like when I go to the bar, what I really want is one. I want a space for myself to feel like comfortable. I do have a very hard time with like circuit party things, and I thought when I first moved here, I could handle it, but I can't. Like I go in and it's like the same music, and then it goes, "Let's fucking lose it." But then you hear that 20 minutes later, that instead of it's like, "Let's get really crazy." I'm done. I don't
So
wanna
what
do this.
is like
So-
the it bar for you or
so
club?
I love. I think it's like a mixed space. Being being a mixed individual, maybe it is. I love like. I wish Buddies in Bad Times, which is like the theater / club, was more popular because it's big enough that you can like have a big ass dance floor, but it also has a lot of spaces that are like a little bit quieter and like. And I think that the range of people that go there for the most part at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock is like the first place people usually hit because it's like usually free and you know the other parties won't start yet and the drinks are cheaper. So like at that moment there's like maybe annoying white gays that have too much money that are from Windsor and Kitchener and then you have like the weird like fucking non-binary punks and then you also have like me and that's what I like that blend because I think like I like to play in both of those worlds. So like how do you actually create space that feels safe for all those people? Because so you go to Woody's and I remember this fucking guy who you think that he would be like really nice to everybody. They were doing like a huge drag show of like a masterclass for young drag queens and there was a bunch of women at the bar because women like drag. And like the one of my friends is a drag queen. Her name is Anne Alien. You should look her up because she's
great.
amazing.
She is amazing.
And he like was like right beside her and he was like, why are there so many women in this bar? And then she turns around and she's like, because women like drag too. And he's like, and then like every time a like non-binary kind of like weird drag performer went on, he was like, what is this? This isn't what I came here for. This is fucking garbage. And then you're like,
Did anybody call him out?
yeah, we
Other than
all
the-
did around like there was like 4 or 5 of us being like, you have to shut them. And I know him, which is
Who is it?
awful.
Who is it? Name, number, address.
I'll tell you after.
Oh, damn it.
But I was like, you're a fucking piece of shit. He's like, oh, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he's making this guy at one point, a straight guy, maybe. I don't know. He was like, let me fix your shirt. And the guy was like, no, thanks. I'm good. I like my shirt done up where it is. He's like, oh, so you're not even a faggot. And he's like, if you were a faggot, you'd let me touch you. So like, obviously you're just infiltrating this space. Like you shouldn't be here. He's like a 35-year-old gay that I was just like, that's gross, you know? Because I think there's that like that's like not making anybody feel good.
Yeah, and I think people like that need to be canceled because for a community that is constantly seeking acceptance and equality, just soul appreciation, what's the difference from a gay man going to a male strip club and then the male stripper just stopping his performance and saying, what the fuck is another man doing here?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So what's the difference? There is none.
There isn't. No, I agree. What about apps? Do we think that the like grinders and the scruffs of the world have taken away from queer spaces?
Oh wait, Kabir, you
What?
didn't tell us
Oh.
what your ideal like club.
Shit, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot you were here.
Thank you for...
Can I go pee?
Yeah, you go pee.
I do this every time.
And do we just pause?
Yeah, no, we keep
No,
going.
you guys keep going. I'm not that relevant.
Oh, okay.
I'm just here just for because I'm queer.
Then you're not going anywhere, except you are. Okay, great. So my ideal, well, actually the best times I've ever had out were at New Ho Queen.
Yeah.
You know what? I find it space and Rangila. I'm gonna shout out those two events because they're fucking amazing. Everybody check them out. So Rangila is Bollywood focused, which once again I'm brown and Persian. For those of you that forgot, I'm brown, I'm Indian, I'm Persian. Thank you. So it was like one of the best times I've ever had because I've never been around so many people that look like me partying, and rarely do I really see brown guys out.
Or
like Indian guy.
and also
Actually-
like feel comfortable.
There's a lot of us. I
You're
found out
right.
at Rangila.
I can't really imagine. I can't really recall a time where I was like, oh yeah, there's brown people here.
Yeah, no, and it was like crazy because it was a lot. It was Club 120. It was packed, and they have like they have Rangila at Pride usually, and it's like I think it's at the Danforth
remember.
Music Hall, and it is packed. It's like crazy. I'm like, where are you people?
So then, where do the brown like queer people go
Only to
when it's
that.
not that?
Apparently nowhere. I'm the only one who goes out. I'm like, hello, I'm repping for the community, and I'm kind of a shitty representative. Please
Yeah.
come out and give us a good name. And New Ho Queen is more. It's more
South Asian focused.
Not South Asian. I'm South Asian.
East Asian.
Yes, and it's it was amazing. Like, and once again packed. And it was one of the best nights of my life when I went to New Ho Queen, and I was like, wow, I'm gonna go to this every night. And then coronavirus happened, and here we are.
So what I'm getting from that is your ideal space would be like seeing a lot of different people, not just
Seeing a lot of
white
different
gays.
people and being feeling like I belong in a space. And I
Right.
rarely feel like that in queer spaces, which is sad because I am queer. And that's what the point is supposed to be.
Do you think and I don't know if you have to answer this, but I feel like it's where I go to is like when I especially when I was younger, it's still actually now, I can't even lie. Like when I go to a club, I drink and get drunk for the reason that it makes me feel more comfortable in this space because I have more confidence or like more like that drunk confidence. And I don't know if my white friends have to do that to the same extent unless they're like chubby.
Yeah, 100%. I think it helped me cope for so long. And then because I was going out so often, I met a lot of people. And then I started to become more like when Jay got to know me, I knew like everyone.
Right.
When I was going out, I would go say hi to everyone and whatever. And like that's when I started to become more comfortable because I got to know everybody in the community. But it was definitely like I don't drink anymore because I think I was coping.
You outdid it.
I think it was just affecting my health a little
Right.
bit. And I think part of that is because drinking in the queer community is a coping mechanism for a lot of people. And also that's how you socialize with queer people.
Yeah.
Is by drinking.
Yeah.
So
Or one night stands, right?
no, that's just DJ.
No, I don't have any one night stands. I'm very much a virgin of this group. Everybody thinks I'm a hoe.
That's a lie.
Hey,
I'm back.
That's
I
another
was just-
podcast.
I actually, yeah, well, next week when we talk about Jay's problem with lying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lying's drugs and
So now that-
sexcapades.
So now that we know what everybody's ideal queer space is,
The apps.
the apps. That's one of my biggest questions. Do you think apps have, this might be a really quick conversation. It's like a yes or no question. Do you think apps have taken away from why we need queer spaces?
I don't know. I've never really correlated the two.
Because like you used to go to clubs to hook up, right? Like when I,
Yeah.
right?
I didn't.
But you're also like you're 30, you're
But I think-
51,
770.
22.
right? So you're 22, right? So you've almost
22.
you've had the apps for a really long time. But I'm talking about like maybe 15 years ago.
Shut up, Jay.
I think that
That's bullying.
if you take a like poll, I think the average answer that people will say like,
Did you
yeah,
take a poll?
No.
No.
Okay, Bill Nye.
But we will on
But
our
if you
Instagram if you
do-
follow it.
Bitch.
Yeah. If you do, then I think the average answer will be like, yeah, people will go in hopes of meeting someone.
Right.
And then probably the next answer is probably going to be like, oh, to have a fun night with friends, to celebrate a birthday, to celebrate this or whatever. But I think that the one good reason that a lot of people do go out is to meet somebody,
Mhm.
Right.
or at least back then. Now you can meet somebody on your cellular technology.
Wait, first of all,
Mm.
if you meet someone on an app, at least you have like what I like to say as full control over the dialogue or wherever this conversation is about to go. So if I had to pick one, I'm definitely going to pick an app solely because I can have a conversation with you. I can't have a conversation with you in
Really?
a club.
Do you know?
No, but it's all about the experience.
and that's the
What
thing I think I love-
experience?
This thing. This is the moment. This is the moment. So like you're
Sing
in
it.
the club, right? And you look across the club and you see somebody, right? And you're like, oh my god,
Oh my God.
that
they're-
person's so
they're
fly. I don't know why it's
eye-fucking me.
fly, but I like.
Wow.
you
And
can
then-
see a twinkle in their eye from
Yeah.
across
A twink.
the
And you
club.
like, and you both,
Huh?
yeah, little twink. I like it.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
then you both look at each other and you kind of like smile and look away because you're like not too sure if like you should. But then you both look back at the same
Yes.
time.
Do you know
For the audience at home, Jay's acting this out
I
right
am.
now.
And then you
See
go,
them.
and then you're like, do I go up to them? Do I not? And then you walk up or they walk up to you and they go, hey.
Jay,
You
that's
go,
never happened to you. I've
Hey.
been with you the last 300 times
It
you've
did.
gone
It
out.
happened with Kyle, like the guy that we were just hanging out the other day. Like he bought me a drink at a
Oh
bar.
my God,
so
what's
we
his
both
last
got-
name?
I don't. You don't need to know.
I know.
Kyle that we were hanging out with the other.
Big ear Kyle.
Yeah. That's me.
What?
Don't
They're cute.
listen to
I
this
think they're
guy.
cute. I think they're cute ears.
But you
I love
realize
Russell Tovey for his big ears. There's nothing wrong with saying somebody has big ears. It's a
You
quality.
might
about them.
listen, Kyle. I'm
So?
so sorry.
What do
So
you
what-
have
what
beautiful
was
ears
it?
anyway?
what you're describing is the same reason why apps like Grindr have implemented this feature called like poke and all that.
I know, but I don't get
jazz.
the butterflies from a poke. I just get annoyed by them.
That's Facebook poke.
Then what's Grindr?
The
Grindr's
heat.
tap.
Tap, yeah.
Well,
But could you
bitch,
imagine me just like if I liked you, just be like,
Yeah, people do that.
Oh
I
my
just tapped.
Just so
Jamal.
you guys know, he just viciously just
Attacked.
attacked me.
We're gonna call
Yeah.
police.
He attacked me.
Another black man attacked again.
Okay, I think-
that went a bit too far.
I think that what we're trying to say is that like trying to meet somebody on an app and meeting them organically at a club or bar when you're having fun, it's a different experience.
Yeah.
Yes, apps are for sure. They're easy, they're convenient, they're whatever, but it lacks something, I think, at least for the older people that like have done the meeting of people in bars, clubs, restaurants, wherever. Like I know people back then that like have met people that they dated at like a grocery store. Like I don't even think people do that anymore because they're so easily accessible.
You're just swiping
on an
you're
app.
swiping at the grocery store.
Yeah.
I think that like in an ideal world, I think that the two should be for different things. I mean, like obviously people are going to the club or like back in the day to just hook up. But like if we're talking about community spaces, I would like I think like going out with your friends is like to have fun. And I wish it was. I've been in many situations where it's not. But like it's to see drag shows. It's also for a sense of belonging for a lot of people. And I think that's what those spaces should be about. And I think that it's like comparing apples and oranges. Like maybe there is a loss of people going to the club because they have Grindr and they'd rather do that. But I kind of like that because I like going out not to have sex with people. I like going out to enjoy myself, you know? So I don't know. It's like we have to shift our view on what we're doing at clubs.
Right. Like things can be more than one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I think that brings out some of our last things that we can get to talk about is like, how do we've talked that all of us kind of need queer spaces in our own way, although quite different for some of us. And I think that it's great. How do we take back our queer spaces, or how do we keep these queer spaces alive?
Lock the doors.
Wait, let me go first. Let me go first. The progressive mindset that I have naturally in life is telling me to say that we don't need to necessarily shut down our doors or lock down our street. What we need to do is find a way where we can both cohabitate in this city. Like I see nothing wrong in capitalist Canada taking over the village and building a condo. Yeah, I see why it's wrong, but unfortunately enough, it's the way of capitalism. Right. How I see it is a give and take situation. What I feel like we need is a lot more queer spaces that are more progressive. So like peer mentorship programs, drop-in centers, things like that. So if you gave me a condo on the side, a community center that had like a weekly session for queers to come kind of collaborate or like let's say for example, even Thanksgiving. For queers that don't have somewhere to go, we throw a fucking Thanksgiving party. Right. Things like that to me are more of a necessity. That's why I personally don't care when they buy out clubs, because I'm like, I don't see clubs as progressive for the human.
It's not something for your experience.
Not even my experience. I just don't like, yeah, a lot of people like find themselves in clubs and things like that, but we don't need 15 different clubs on Church Street when we can simply just add in one fucking drop-in center. Yeah, I guess we have. But
I would agree with you. I would agree with you for one thing. If there were 15 bars, like gay bars on Church,
like two.
But we have like even if you have like O'Grady's and the Mousy Mouse or whatever the fuck it's called, and all of those little places, they're not queer spaces to go to cohabitate. It's a restaurant, right? It's a bar that you sit down at a table, right? So you go with your friends. There's something about that. I think we've lost a lot in the community, and especially with Rona happening, of like being able to have like a community gathering. And if that means drinking, if that like also how interesting would it be if a bar had a sober night? Like what does that look like if it's on a Tuesday that people feel more comfortable there for that reason?
Okay, I want you guys, because I keep trying to bring this conversation back to something a lot less party.
Right.
Have you guys ever experienced a queer space that was for something other than partying?
Not until I got to meet people through partying.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, you have to be invited
and
into the social circles.
Give me the kind of space that you're referring to that you actually got
spaces
invited.
that we create for ourselves. Like even right now, sitting at a table with a bunch of queers, this isn't something that I would have done unless I went out, met somebody, and was invited in. You know,
see, you shouldn't have to go through that.
But
I'll give you. It's a sad reality, but it's a sad reality of today.
Yeah,
it's not the sad reality of 10 years ago. And the reason why I say that is because when I first moved to Detroit, I had no friends other than my ex. It was just me, my ex. I had literally nobody, right? So the one thing that I had that allowed me to just find myself within Detroit was the fact that they had all these like drop-in centers, right? And I think what it was that the city as a whole was just going through so much. So people needed help, whether it be financially or mentally. Mm-hmm. So they built these avenues for queer people to come express themselves. If you don't have a home, it's at least a place for you to have like shelter for at least 2 hours of the day, right? those things to me make a difference.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And I'll give you an example. I know a trans person who is my age, so 30, who just died yesterday. Why did she
Sorry.
die? Because like literally she had no support. She was on the street for weeks upon weeks upon weeks doing drugs to like stay warm, all that kind of jazz. And then what? Just OD'd. And like we all tried to provide her help like as years went on, as we can see her life deteriorating. But it was like, how much help can you provide to your friends when you're also growing up and you're also finding your way in your stability? And these people, all they want is a simple place to feel welcomed and feel loved. That's why I feel like, yeah, maybe take a club or two away, put something a little bit more progressive that's going to teach our youth that partying and entertainment is not the end all be all.
Absolutely.
And I hope at the end of the day that those people that are building those condos and doing that stuff will do that. Like I really, really, really hope.
Let me put this plug in there. So
Yeah.
TD Bank, Dominion, no frills. If you want to sponsor us so we can start this space, hopefully build like a 50 like floor condo in the process, we're always there.
Yeah, and we can create a community.
Not no frills, maybe Loblaws. I don't know if no
Yeah.
frills is going to
They
go
don't
for
got enough money. They're giving
they're
they're giving me meat for fucking $6. They ain't got no-
giving me 10-day-old.
It's the same company, guys.
I know.
The Weston, Galen Weston, we're asking you.
So I'm hoping I think we see this what's happening a lot in the queer world right now is the expansion of queerness in ways of maybe the village isn't always the space that we need to have queerness. I hope that these spaces still stay because I think for me as a young person, I didn't really know where else to start. I didn't know where else to start. So I think it was an amazing place to start. And if we don't give this space for young people to start, for me, that was my journey. It really saved me from it, gave me a community and also saved me from myself.
Amen.
And you know, it's also interesting. I see we were talking about what was his name? Sky Gilbert. And we're talking about, you know, these problems in these clubs. I think one of the main problems is that we're having people that are running the village that are a lot older than us, who are looking at it from that old perspective. Being a queer space, now we've evolved, it's not enough. Being a queer space used to just be enough. That was the fight, just being visible. Now we're getting more and more accepted, but now we have to reach out to the furthest corners of our community and grab those people, trans people that are fighting to just stay alive, that are fighting to be sober, because we're not doing that. I rarely see trans people in the main clubs in Toronto. And that's unfortunate. And I don't feel that these club owners are really doing anything other than maybe Club 120 and maybe the Beaver, both of which are now closed. Yeah. They're not reaching out and trying to get those people to come and feel safe. And there's nowhere that I can think of off the top of my head that's trying to get people to be safe in a controlled, sober environment. And that's a problem. Sobriety is a huge issue in our community.
Yeah, it's tough. With any kind of queer people or people that are on any kind of what's the word?
Intersectionality.
Pedestal?
Edge? No, on the edge of
glory.
Glory hole.
Yes.
Any person that's on like on that balance of poverty or people who are on the margins. Thank you, Jay. You're welcome. On those margins, we need to be protecting them, and I think that's what the community used to be, and it's still continuing now. I hope to grow like that again. You know, we have gayness being or queerness being part of pop culture, and then we see this sense of fame and this need of like this crave to be mainstream because for so long we haven't been. But I think there is something really juicy in staying in that like queerness and that not so like mainstream centric place that I think we lose if we lose queer spaces that do that, and if we don't continue to push ourselves forward
I totally
keep
just
queerness.
had a thought.
Yeah.
As you were saying that, I was like thinking that, yeah, we fight so much and so long to be accepted, to be seen. And then we finally are. And then we're like mainstream, quote unquote, for lack of a better word. And then that in that way that we are accepted, we kind of lose ourselves.
We become Ellen DeGeneres.
Which is horrible.
Yeah.
But then you can't have one without the other because we want to be seen. We want to be accepted.
We want to be safe.
And then other people, like, then they come into like this sense of community or whatever, and then that is broken up. So then what are we left with? So it's either do we want to be left alone and just be left to our own community and be able to just do that, or do we want acceptance from everybody? But then that comes with I guess being gentrified and
It's
it's
bleak.
just all. It is like, what is the truth?
Yeah,
Do you
'Cause
see
it's
why
like-
I say that sometimes we are our own oppressors?
Yeah,
absolutely. In any of those systems, right? You want, like, you look at indigenous communities wanting sovereignty, but then at the same time, sovereignty is a really scary thing in this country when they don't have an actual land to be sovereign in. And as
Mhm.
queer people, we are experiencing similar things, and Black people experience similar things. Like, Black people were in these ghettos for so long that now we're getting gentrified, but they were like creating this space in this community to thrive. And that, like, even though white people saw it as these ghettos and these awful places, sure, awful things happen. They had a community there, and that loss of community came with amazing things for Black people in
Mhm.
some ways, but also like a loss of community in other ways.
Mhm.
And queerness is kind of doing the same thing in that way of like, we're to lose or to gain, we have to lose something.
Yeah.
But is that the thing that we want to lose?
Like,
And
at
to
what
lose, you
cost?
gotta gain something. I don't know. Anyway, I think what these companies that are buying out these businesses or these buildings, what they should be obligated to do, considering that the village is a historical thing of Canada or Toronto, as it is with most cities that have a gay village.
Yeah, like Boys Town and all those places.
I think what they should be obligated to do is that for every building or fucking story of a building that you're going to build, you need to do one positive thing for the queer community
Ah.
that is tangible.
Oh my God, Jamal for mayor. Mayor.
I love that.
I'm voting for you.
He's a Jamal
Oh, for
mayor.
mayor. I'm down. 2022.
Of Etobicoke, though.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Just to be clear, not Toronto.
Wow. Wow.
you didn't impress Kabir that much.
Yeah, like don't get it twisted.
But I feel like that could be an answer. Do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, the whole reason why they want to build condos there is because we've built up this appeal to the village, right?
Yeah.
So for them, it's a profitable lane of the city, right? So if you're going to profit off of us, we should profit off of you. So any positive thing that you can give us, whether it be entertainment or social justice, anything, give us one thing in return for your building. And then
And not just one dildo.
Yeah.
And I love the every story
Yeah.
aspect. Like every story you build, one thing back to the community. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I think the reason I brought Kabir on today was because me and Kabir have been talking a lot for the past like 6 months about creating a queer space that encompasses some of the stuff that we were talking about today. And how would that work in the next 2 or 3 years to be able to open those spaces?
Oh, not because I'm your best friend?
No, I don't even like you.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
But I think what really is really, really important is that we continue to have these conversations and that we continue to keep our communities safe. And if that means in the village or outside of the village, we need to continue to do that. And I'm happy that I have you guys to be around me. You guys are like a queer space to me.
amen. And
Aw.
to you and to people listening.
Yeah.
I think if anything comes out of this episode, maybe we should like figure out ways in the future that we can aid in providing queer spaces.
I would love that.
And keep queer spaces alive.
Yeah. Maybe people that listen to the podcast will want to see a live show one day when we can
In
do
a
it.
queer space.
In a
Oh
queer
my
space.
God. And if you're rich, feel free to contact me at Kabiri Pie on Instagram and I will make a space
yeah.
with your money.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Is it tax deductible?
It's a
a
everything you give
charity.
to me is charitable, frankly. So that is tax deductible.
Amen.
You're welcome.
That makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, this has been a great conversation, and I'm so happy to
Lovely.
have been able to talk to all of you guys. My name is Jay Northcott.
And I'm J-Ho.
I'm Kabir Singh Shergill.
And I'm Alexander Jamal.
Thanks so much for tuning in.
Toodles.
Toodles.
Bye.
Did we just harmonize?
Kind of.